Hi everybody, I'm Kelly Stark, and today I posted a finished piece on the needle felting group and a few other groups, and had some people ask me about the iron felting that I commented about. And it's a technique that Ruth Yoder had mentioned in a group and was kind enough to share that information with us. It's so easy, it's ridiculous, and I asked her why she hadn't done a video of it yet, and she said she's not able to do a video. So I told her that I would, and I promised her a very, very long time ago I would. So here we go. So this piece is not iron felted on the background. This is just layers of bat, and they have been mounted onto, felted into this piece. And I had into a wool pre-felt 100% wool. I get it at Joann's, always use a coupon. And I had just drawn out the shape, and then I built from there. Just, you know, I knew that it had to be 3 3/4 inches minimum. So, here we go. Super easy, but don't leave me because I got a few more tricks up my sleeve after I show you how to do this. So this is a lovely bat that I got from Sandy Wilkins. She is a member of the needle felting group. She has beautiful bats. I absolutely love the colors. And what we're going to do is we're just going to pull a piece there. Let me get some of this yellow. Maybe some of this brighter yellow over here. And I'm kind of reconstructing what she already did. I love getting bats because you get so many colors, so many mixtures in with it versus purchasing a single color. I like a lot of depth to my clothes. That's what I typically use this for. Or even backgrounds. It gives it a very watercolor effect. And it's just my preference. You don't have to. You can use any kind of regular wool that you have to do this technique. So I'm going to lay this one down first. And then I'm going to spread this a little bit to cover a little bit more. And I think we're just going to streak some pieces of this through. Now, very, very simple. You're just going to really get an initial stab down. Okay. You want to make sure to get as much of it down as you can, so that when you lift it, it doesn't separate. Because you don't get a ton of felting from the ironing. You really do have to have a decent connection with it. Otherwise, it's just going to kind of fall back apart. As you pull, make sure to scoop, because if you just lift, it's just going to leave a ton of it on the pad because you felted it down into the pad. You turn it, and you're going to do the same thing on this side. Okay? And that's what you do. For time's sake, I'm speeding up this process a little. I like to give it a little swipe to get a little moisture on there. I have it on the wool setting. Shocker. No, actually, I have it on the cotton linen setting. It is at the highest temperature I can get to get the best steam out of it. And it has so much loft to it, you just got to kind of slowly work across. It would have less loft to it if I had needle felted it down further. And you flip it. And you do this side. And I like to try to give it a little agitation while I'm doing it. I can see there's a lot of shifting going on here. It's because I didn't felt it down very much the first time. And you can see what I was saying about how it is thin. As you can see my fingers through most of it. still. So then you just can keep adding and just keep stabbing it down, pulling it off. Really, I do this maybe 3 times, maybe. A lot of times I don't. But because my camera decided to have a time limit, here's a piece that is already done. It's much thicker. And like I said, you just keep adding more until it's the thickness you want. You really can't see through this at all. And then for this piece, all I did was wrap it around, well, if you were, say, doing an ornament, which I'm going to show you in a second, this would be something that I would use. And as it looks like this, I'd cut a 1/4 inch around, and then I would put some little darts along the edge, and I would glue and wrap and wrap and wrap it around. And it would give you that lovely round shape for the back of your ornament size. And then it, you know, has this matching quality to it. I really don't, I don't like to use store-bought materials on my felties. And this is a perfect example. Her hat was made by doing this, rolling it, cutting off the excess, needle felting down the seam, and then basically just shaping it and turning it into this, which sits right here on the back of her head typically, but she had her witch hat on recently. The other thing that I use it for, see the edge of her dress? I took this, and for this, because I wanted it really thick, and you know, when you're pulling, it's hard to get it really thin. I just took this, and I went like that, and I got a nice crisp edge along the bottom, and I felted it down, went through, just stabbed it down, and then I pulled this down so that it was shorter, because I didn't want a cut edge. Made sure the edges were feathered, measured around, felted the seam part way up the back. Then I just slipped the little tube right over, and then I felted it only along the top and a little bit down her waist. And even though it was a little big when I put it on her, it felted right down to her, so she has a nice cute little skirt, because when it compresses, it compresses. Now, wow, that was really difficult, right? You're thinking, why did I not think of this before so I could make my own material? The other project that I used this on was this ornament. And the trick that I want to show you about this is on this piece, what I did was, you know, did the whole design. It's on, they're both on a piece of this pre-felt. Yeah, they both are. I had to remember for a minute, because the lettering was on there. But this lettering, I don't want it to be compressed. You know, this gets really flat. But I didn't want this to be so smashed that it didn't have some dimension. So what I did is I took a piece of material after it was, I had felted on the letters and the little dots and everything, and then I put the piece face down so that the raised parts that I wanted to have stay a little bit raised. They're not terribly raised like they normally might be. I'm a terribly hard felter, so they weren't very raised as it was. But when you lay it down with the face part down, the material helps absorb some of the impact, and so it doesn't make it quite as smooth as, say, this piece that was just ironed. But for whatever reason, you'll find that you do one side and you flip it and you go, hey, this is kind of loft. Well, yeah, because the iron compresses it and flattens it on that side. So that steam going through tends to loft the other side a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. So the softer the padding that you're working on, the softer it's going to get. Okay? So, one of the other things that I have done with this that I thought was very fun, and of course I can't find my rice pad now. Not everybody likes the bag of rice to felt in, but for this particular thing, I loved it. So I'm taking it and I'm really making it into a form. I made an elf hat on here. It was a pretty big elf. And I try to make sure to work enough rice up in. And then I was able to just wrap it. And I cut it. I don't want to cut this piece because it's too pretty. I cut it. Brought it down so that it's completely wrapped around that tip, and I felted that seam down, and I just kept felting it down, turned the edges under and felted that down, and just kept working it and felting it and adding some more wool to it to get it a little thicker in certain areas, you know, along the brim and things like that. And then I would come back in and steam it as I was doing it and really get it to compress down, and it turned out to be the most beautiful hat. And I will absolutely do it again for shoes and things like that that you want a nice point on, but don't want to necessarily have it filled. Maybe you want to remove it so that you can take it on and off your piece. I tend to make my clothes so they don't come off. But that's just because I don't want to have to make it so big all the time that so you can go over the hands and things like that. So again, Ruth, thank you very much for giving us this tip, and super simple, and I hope that you were able to get something out of it and enjoy this process, because I absolutely love it. Thank you.